Welcome back for another top-notch video. This week, guys, we'll be talking about the 17th of August through the 21st of August. If you don't know what this channel is about, it's about TSP and Roth IRA brokerage accounts. We talk about the C, S, I, and F funds for those in TSP. And we talk about IVV, VXF, EFA, and AGG for those in Roth IRA brokerage accounts. As always, the C fund or IVV equal the S&P 500. They are the same. S fund or VXF equal small caps, I fund or EFA equals international markets, F fund or AGG equals bonds. What we do is we kind of do a general broad stroke overview of where the funds went for the week, do a technical analysis, and then let you guys make your decisions, and we show our allocation. If this interests you, please like, subscribe, or share. We'll get right into the video. So for the first thing we like to look at is the TSP channels, TSP talk from Tom does some commentary on here, and we like to look at the percentages. So for the percentages for this week, all you got to do is pay attention to the top funds here. Obviously, we have our F, C, S, and I funds up here for the week. We were in the green for the most part. C fund winning out the most. We had a 0.7% return here, where the S fund only had a 0.1% for the whole week. I fund was down, or EFA was down for the week, and the F fund was up just a tiny bit. Overall, I wasn't very impressed with this week. Hope to see a little bit more, especially out of that S fund. Didn't see that, but a positive week, we'll take anything. So if it's positive, we'll take it. On the charts, what does it look like for the week? As you can see, we have the same funds here, F, C, S, and I, all on here. Same ETFs, as you can see towards the beginning of that week. Really jumped up with the S fund. Thought that was going to kind of continue through. Towards the middle of the week, it popped back down, and we ended up being a little bit even lower than the F fund towards the end of the week in that S fund. We are allocated 50-50 or 60-40, so we were able to make money this week, which was good, but not as much as we would have liked. That being said, let's go ahead and jump into Tom's commentary on TSP Talk. Please check out his website if you're interested in more. As far as the S&P 500 goes, these are his thoughts from Thursday. As you can see, we are still within the trend line here for the S&P 500 or IVV or the C fund. Doing very well. Trend lines are intact. When they are intact, prices still continue to go up, which is good there. All of our trend lines are moving up. The moving averages are moving in the right directions. Trend lines are up. We are above this here, which is good too. No issues or concerns at this time. We'll go into more of a technical analysis later. The only thing that is interesting is the PMO line is dropping a little bit here, so you might want to pay attention to that in the future. Usually when the black line drops below the red line, here you see price decrease. Moving on to the S fund or VXF. What do we see? What do we got? Above all our trend lines here, we did hit this trend line here, hoping to see it bounce off of that. Could come to this trend line right here and bounce off of that, but the moving averages are in the right direction for the 200-day moving average, slowest moving average, and our 50-day moving average, faster moving average is on top. No real issues there. Going forward from that, we're going to move into international markets, the I fund. This one really surprised me. I thought we might see a move this last week in the I fund, and there was no move for the I fund. It definitely did not do this well this week. As you can see here, lost a whole percentage on that. We did not move into it, and that was a good move. We did move below this trend line here, so that is interesting. We'll have to see where it finds support in here, but not a real good place to be based off these small charts moving forward. Another real interesting thing that Tom came up with was the volatility index. Now, usually when volatility is very high, we see a lot of really big moves in stocks. Ever since that high we saw back in June, this chart's been moving way down below the 200-day moving average into its trend lines here. Towards the end of the week, we did see that pop out a little bit. So we could see possibly some bigger moves coming up this next week. Instead of just 0.3, 0.4 percentage moves, we could see whole percentage moves if we get up in this range here above the 200-day moving average for the volatility index. And finally, we have bonds or AGG. Bonds really fell, guys, hard. Broke all of its trend lines, came all the way down to the 50-day moving average, hit that 50-day moving average, and then started forming a bear flag this last week. And we'll have to wait and see where things go from there. We do have an open gap here. Open gaps tend to be filled. We'll have to see if it does fill those. Another little technical analysis I want to show you guys. This is Grow My TSP. Good site that I like to look at as well. Some good technical analysis here. Now, guys, this is basically the C fund presented monthly in a monthly chart. A lot of people don't think that the recovery was very I don't know, V-like. But if we look at it on a monthly perspective, this is a very V-shaped like recovery for our stocks. Now, he was looking at it possibly seeing some kind of bounce back down before it continues up. We don't know if that'll be the case. We'll look at our technical analysis and only go off technical analysis from there. But interesting what he thinks there. I just want to show you guys that it was a very V-shaped recovery for the C-Fund on a monthly chart. And then if we go to the short-term charts, as you can see here, that the moving average line he likes to have in here is the 10-day moving average, which is a very short line. But we've stayed above the 10-day moving average for almost all of August here. So very, very good. We hit an all-time high this last week back from the February-March time frame. So an all-time high, which is awesome for that C-Fund. And our indicators, he uses RSI and MACD. Usually when RSI gets close up here, we want to be very cautious, and we want to invest more towards when it's towards the middle of this line. So we just want to watch that carefully. And then MACD, we want to make sure that black line is above the red line here, and it's right on the line, basically flat. Moving forward, the S-Fund, also holding above its 2-day moving average. We've had a 5-month-long trend line here on the monthly daily chart, so that's very interesting here. Holding above, really trying to get close to that push above for new highs here as well in this chart. And then I have the indicators, which are down here. RSI is moving a little bit farther away, so that's good. MACD's been on this line, guys, for almost 2 months, so it's very interesting. Hard to get a clear picture from these charts when you see that. We'll have to move into our technical analysis and show you more. And then the I-Fund here, we did have a little bit of a breakdown. That is not good. Maybe we'll see some support here at the price line 64. We'll have to wait and see. And that is EFA. And then, of course, we have, that's the only thing we have for this week. So that's kind of some comments, general comments we have for the charts. Let's move into our technical analysis. I have some big things to show you for this week. For IVV, or the C-Fund, doing very well. Moving averages are all moving in the right direction. We have beat all our trend lines. We need to draw a new trend line in here for FinViz, but this is good. Price is going very well here. No issues, concerns for the C-Fund. If we look at it from a technical analysis, we look at 2 charts, a long-term chart and a short-term chart. With those, we look at the weekly and the 4-hour chart. That's how we do our long-term and short-term charts. The 2 indicators we like to look at to keep it nice and clean is basically our derivative oscillator, which is these red and green bars back here. So when the derivative oscillator is in the red or moving down, price tends to move down. This is price here. And when the red bars are moving up into the green bars, price tends to be moving up and doing where we want it to be at. That's our first indicator. The other indicator we like to look at is PPO. That's that blue line and the red line, which is the moving average. When the blue line, PPO, is above the red line, the moving average, price tends to go up. And when it's below that, price tends to decrease. Those are the 2 indicators we like to look at when we're looking at our technical analysis. It makes it pretty simple. The only other thing we like to look at is kind of the Bollinger Bands. We like to see price in the Bollinger Bands for it to continue upward movement. So that being said, going over all our charts, let's go into long-term charts for IVV. As you can see here, we had a weekly fake out here on long-term charts for the derivative oscillator. Went from a 3.1 to a 3.8 to a 3.6 to 4.1 to this week, which was a 4.5. That is really increasing price here. Good long-term chart here. Our PPO line is above our moving average. Really, really good things here for our indicators. Good place to be for IVV. On a short-term basis, let's look at that for the 4-hour chart. As you can see for IVV, here's something that we were kind of concerned about this week for sure, was the PPO line was above the moving average line, so that we were kind of concerned. But we saw long-term charts were in a good place to be, so we kept our hold of our positions for the charts. And we start to saw that come out on the 19th towards the middle of the week, and then it came back down again, so that was concerning. But the big thing that we like to see is towards the end of the week, it did come. Derivative oscillator did drop 1 up here, so that is good. Moving back towards positive territory. Price is reacting. We'll have to see if it can stay within those Bollinger Bands. But on a short-term, long-term chart for IVV or the C-Fund, we are doing very well. Good fund to be in. Moving on to the next chart, VXF, the S-Fund. Where do we see with the S-Fund or VXF? Small caps. Small caps, the moving averages are moving all in the right direction. Trend lines are doing well. No issues, concerns, or questions on this. I feel pretty good about this chart. Let's look at it from a technical analysis. Like I mentioned, we're using the same indicators we did for IVV or the C fund. So this is VXF, the small caps, or the S fund. What are we seeing here? Interesting, guys. Another chart that was moving down. Derivative oscillator was moving down here, and price did not react to that. So that's very interesting to see. PPO line's been above the whole time ever since we had that cross middle May. And since these moving averages came down around the 31st of July, we saw the derivative oscillator start to pick back up again. 3.4 to 3.7 to last week, 4.0 to this week, 4.1. So this is increasing pretty good. Usually fake outs don't last too long, but very, very good for VXF. Really enjoying where we're at with this fund. No issues, concerns. Wish we could have got a little bit higher push this week for stock funds. As you can see for the week, it was only at 0.6% return for this fund, but still positive return. I'll take it for now. Moving on to short-term charts for VXF on that 4-hour chart. What do we see? We don't see that turnaround like we did on the C fund right now, so that's not necessarily a good thing. Kind of just waiting to see where this is go. Negative here for our derivative oscillator, negative for PPO line. Short-term basis could see a negative week coming up for VXF, but long-term charts still look good. So we're just kind of holding steady, waiting for this to turn around. Hoping to see a turnaround sometime this week for VXF. That's all I got for that fund or the S fund. Moving on to international markets, EFA for the I fund. With our I fund, like I mentioned, I thought we saw a moving into this last week. That was not the case. Saw a double top here. 1, 2, 3. Saw this double top. Was not able to push above. Moved lower. Now we're waiting to see if this 50-day moving average is going to cross the 200-day moving average, or if the price will come down and bounce off those moving averages, see any support there. We'll have to wait and see on that. For a technical analysis for EFA, what do we see? Long-term charts for EFA. We saw it increase a little bit here. This was our signal, guys, for our derivative oscillator. We moved from a 2.8% to a 2.9%. And then this week we went back down to 2.8% at the close. So that's not a very positive sign for EFA. Not something we want to get involved with right now. The PPO line is above the moving average. Price, even though this has been coming down, price has been moving up ever so slightly, but really not as a good recovery as our other two stock funds. It hasn't been performing as well as you can see on these charts here. All these funds for the year, guys, we're up 6% in the C fund, 3% in the S fund. The I fund is still down almost 6% for the year, so not a real good place to have funds. I'm kind of a little biased on the E fund or the EFA or the International I fund, but yeah, that's where I see it for right now. As far as short-term charts for the I fund go, let's take a look at that real quick. As you can see, real in the negative here, no real positive things here. We lost quite a bit of gains here. As you can see, we're up here on the 19th, about $65, and then we came all the way back down to 64, all the way back to almost took about 10 days out of the market for this fund. And as you can see, our PPO line dropped below our moving average here. That's not a positive sign. Price reacted. Our derivative oscillator also dropped. Price reacted. Just stay away from EFA for right now. I'm going to stick to our other stock funds moving forward until we see some improvement in this chart. Last but not least, we have AGG or bonds. What did we see? Well, this one's been moving up ever so slightly for most of the year, but as you can see for bonds, our stock funds are finally starting to catch bonds. Bonds have been the leader for the entire year, and it's up quite significantly, but look at that. We have the C fund within striking distance of the F fund. I can see it striking that just this week, so you want to be careful with that. AGG or bonds was at a double top for the beginning of August, really trying to break through here. There's that double top line in there. It was not able to. We had a breakdown, and now it's kind of consolidating. We're waiting to see if this can come all the way back to the 200-day moving average or move up and make a second attempt. Where do we look on the technical analysis for AGG? Let's pull it up. Let's pull it up. Weekly charts for AGG. Ooh, look at this, guys. Take a look at this. We had a fake out here. Fake outs usually last 1 to 5 bars. We saw about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on our derivative oscillator, and then a major drop here. Start to see price start to drop here. Bollinger Bands are really closing in here, and we saw our first negative here, and PPO also crossed. Our two indicators went negative. Not a place to have money right now in AGG. I would hold off on that for long-term charts. As far as short-term charts go for the weekly, let's take a look at those. 4-hour charts. We are seeing things after a brutal little session here for AGG. We did see the PPO line cross again, which is good, and our moving average is doing very well. So that is good. PPO is above that moving average. Derivative oscillators in the positive, but we've already had since the 19th, so we've already had that. That was middle of last week, so I don't know how long that rally will last. It's a very short-term rally before the long-term chart starts to pull this back down again. I would really look to those two stock funds for right now, moving forward for AGG. That is all of our funds for this week, guys. That's really it for our technical analysis, guys, for our stock funds. As far as top notches and allocations, where are we at? Where do we sit? Where do we sit? For this week, guys, we haven't moved any of our funds, so we're still 40% in IVV, 60% in VXF, or 40% C fund, and 60% in the S fund. You can make these allocations change on your TSP website or with your brokerage account. That's where we sit for the week. We're going to hold strong here towards the end of the month, see if there's any other moves we can make before we continue on into September. Really see some strong growth for fourth quarter. Really hoping to see that. Really hoping to get above that F fund and beat some more of those funds moving forward. If you guys have questions, concerns, comments, please write those in the comments below. Really appreciate your guys' support. Please like, subscribe, and that's another top-notch video. We'll see you guys next time.